Technology issues continue. Chinrizi, help us out here. Dedication of Chinrizi meditation. By this virtue may I quickly become Chinrizi and then lead every being without exception to that ground. Vajrasattva mantra. Om Benza Sato Samaya Mano Palaya Benza Sato Tino Pa Tridra Trido Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Subokayo Mebawa Anorakto Mebawa Sarwasiddhi Me Prayatsa Sarwa Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Karuhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Benza Mame Munza Binzi Bawa Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pe Om Benza Sato Samaya Mano Palaya Benza Sato Tino Pa Trida Trido Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Subokayo Mebawa Enorakto Mebawa Sarwasiddhi Me Prayatsa Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Karuhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Benza Mame Munza Binzi Bawa Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Pe Om Benza Sato Samaya Mano Palaya Benza Sato Tino Pa Trida Trido Mebawa Sutokayo Mebawa Supokayo Mebawa Anorakto Mebawa Sawasiddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Karuhum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Benza Mame Munza Binzi Bawa Mahasamaya Sato Ahum Bet.
Om Vajra Safa 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 Om Vajra Safa.
And so for this final meditation, we're just going to just sit, whether in shamatha or vipassana, non-dual meditation, whatever you prefer. This will be a little bit of abbreviated just so we catch back up on our time. All right. Hopefully we've overcome all of our obstacles. We'll see how this Dharma talk goes. Well, again, I want to welcome everybody to the Rime Center here at the Sangha House. I'm so glad that you're here, especially if there's anybody here for the first time. I think everybody's been here before, but if this is your first time, feel free to just raise your hand so we can acknowledge and warmly welcome you. Whether you're exploring the Dharma for the first time or seeking a spiritual home, we do hope that you consider the Rime Center as part of your journey. I do want to give a heartfelt thank you to Daniel, poor Daniel, dealing with tech today. I apologize. And I also want to say thanks to Gabi, who's helping on the third floor shrine room. And of course, everybody who kind of helped out this morning. We are looking for, following the service, the gift shop is going to be open. So definitely stop by. It's on our second floor. Take a look at some of the items that we have. But we are looking for some volunteers after the service to help us move our cushions that are over at St. Mark's. There's a few other items like our gong, and I think the CV, whatever that pipe is that we have that used the tonkas used to hang on. So we could definitely use a few hands. And then also because we want to get the cushions up to the third floor, when we moved over here, we had kind of people just staged on the steps so we could just kind of hand things off. It made it a lot easier. So if you could help us with that, it shouldn't take too long. If there's enough of us, maybe an hour. So hang around and we'll kind of get organized and head over there to get all the cushions. I just want to say thank you all for helping build a community that embodies the Buddhist teachings of love, compassion, and wisdom. And it's because of your generosity that the Rime Center remains a warm and welcoming home for practice, reflection, and connection, carrying on the legacy of our founders, Lama Chuck and Mary. You may actually notice I replaced Lama Chuck's picture and updated it with a picture that has both him and Mary in it. I always thought it was more appropriate to have both of them in that photo. Same thing with the picture on the back wall. I just want to thank you all for your support. You'll notice as you came in, our Sangha House porch is being repaired. This is a tangible reminder of what we can achieve together. Our building fund will help us continue caring for this sacred space and bringing exciting plans to life, including, can I say it ahead of time? Okay. Including expanding the house out behind us to create a larger space for the shrine room. I know you all feel very tight and intimate in this space, as they like to say. So we had an architect come out because we had looked at like trying to expand the space. We still want to build our temple space, but we definitely need like an intermediate space. So we had an architect come out, look, and one of the recommendations was to remove this wall right here, remove the kitchen since we don't really use the kitchen, expand this wall back about 15 feet so that this becomes an open space, then create a coffee bar or coffee tea bar that's kind of by the front door. That wall that's kind of in the back there, remove that a little bit. So that way there's that space that all of y'all are sitting in back there becomes more of a communal space. So when you come in, there's places to sit down so you don't feel like you're just straight into the shrine room. We'll probably bring back our beautiful red curtains that everybody remembers at Penway to kind of wall off the space temporarily. So that way the space forward from the Dalai Lama's picture forward would be our shrine room. So it really will open it up. Then that frees up the third floor to become our Dharma school again. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So the kids can run around like gremlins and we don't have to hear them. Or they could go outside and play in the grass. So we're really excited. Our hope is, so we've hired the architect. He's drawing up the plans as we speak. He will, once he gets the plans submitted to the city, We actually have a contractor who works with him that's already on board. We've talked to our bank. We've got, we're pretty sure we have the full amount that's needed secured. We're looking about what, $150,000. So we definitely have 150,000 secured. However, as with everything, we want to be good stewards with our money. So we don't want to get rid of all the money that we have in one go. We want to be smart with it. But one of the things we've been talking about as our board is really ensuring that we that through this construction process, which hopefully will be done in the spring-ish, maybe summer, depends on how quickly they work, but we'd like to start it in the fall. But just to build the coffers. So we've been talking about this 30 for 30 campaign that we've been doing. We've mentioned it, but we haven't really put a lot of energy behind it, I think. But with this expansion project, what we're really going to do is do a big push because we feel like if we can raise that $30,000 back into the coffers, that will give us about a 6-month cushion. So that way we're not too financially scarce or pulled too thin. So that's our goal. I'm really excited about it. But you can see it's actually starting with that front porch. Many of you had noticed that pillar that was on the corner was starting to lean. And what had happened was the water, when it rained, the downspout wasn't pushed far enough away from the house. So it had actually washed away underneath that wall. That wall started on that edge, started pulling away from the house. And you could really notice it because of physics. That at the top, it was about 6 inches pulled away from where it should have been. So many months ago, we actually had a foundation service come in and reshore up that corner, that wall, so that it wouldn't keep separating. And now we have a mason who is coming out. He's repatching underneath there, putting mortar back underneath the porch, and then it will start restacking the stones. So that's why they're kind of all over the place. I don't envy him. I'm sure that's going to be like a puzzle trying to get those stones back into place, but we're really excited. Some of the other plans we've been thinking about, if we're able to afford it, is actually, and you'll notice that across the street, the house has windows on their porch, but actually enclose the porch off. So when people come in, we can actually kick our shoes off on the porch. That would give us more bench space for people to sit down. That way, when you come in the house, shoes are already off. So that way it frees up space so that there's not a lot of shoes. I'm always worried about folks who are unsteady on their feet coming through there and tripping on shoes and things like that. So big news, big exciting news. As soon as we get the plans from the architect, we're actually going to share more details with the Sangha so you can actually see how it's going to look. Right now, the architect has taken measurements and is now drafting the design. So again, I want to thank you all really from the bottom of my heart. Years ago when Gabi and I took over for Lama, Chuck, and Mary, we wanted this place to outlive multiple generations. We wanted this to be a Sangha for our kids and our grandkids. And having our own space is that step to ensure the longevity of the Rimé Center and our Sangha. So I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you all so much for your financial contributions, because without your contributions, no matter the size that they have been, it strengthens our community, ensures that the Rimé Center remains a place of inspiration, learning, and compassion for generations. So together, we're going to keep the Dharma alive and thriving here in Kansas City. So together, may we continue to create a place of learning, reflection, and joy. All right. You can clap for that. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. It's been taking various different shapes as we've been going through and trying to work with the city. So we finally think we've got a really good plan. So yeah, the architect is excited, the contractor's excited, the board is excited. Now we can be excited. So, all right. Well, today my Dharma talk is From Cushion to Commute, bringing Buddhist practice into daily life. We've been doing our Basics of Buddhism class for, 10 weeks now. And we're now talking about putting Buddhist practice into daily life. And when many people think of putting Buddhist practice or integrating Buddhist practice, they think, or maybe they imagine monks in meditation halls chanting sutras, sitting in silence on a cushion. And while these are powerful supports, the essence of the Dharma is not limited to formal practice. The Buddhist teachings is meant to infuse every moment of our lives, our work, relationships, even the mundane routines of daily life. The true challenge and also the true liberation comes from applying the Dharma off the cushion in the very midst of ordinary life. I don't want to read the rest of this. Okay, so I wanted to. So I want to share my own experience of putting the Dharma into everyday life. You see me up here on this pedestal Lama mat, but I wasn't always Lama mat. Many of you who've been here at the Remay Center for very long remember ordinary mat. And when I look in the mirror, I see ordinary mat. And I want to share my experience of putting the Dharma into practice, because a lot of times we think of it like the Nike slogan, just do it, just sit on the cushion, just change your ethics and your behavior. But anybody who's ever tried to break a habit, whether it's smoking or addiction, or you just don't want to pick your nose anymore, understand it's very difficult to break that habit, to change who we are. So to sit there and say, just do it, can be a little contrite. It can be a little disingenuous, I think, for people who are trying to do it. I'm curious, how many people have been practicing Buddhism for 5 years? Raise your hand. How many people have been practicing for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? So you'll notice that as we keep going, the hands are starting to drop. So as you saw those hands go up, for those of you who haven't been practicing that long, these are folks that you can rely on as well. These are people who've been on the path and have been trying to integrate the Dharma into their everyday life. So my experience is just one of a multitude. And we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different challenges in our life. So when I talk about my own experience, I can only talk about it from my personal space. I can't expect you to relate to that and say, oh, wow, geez, if Lama Matt could do it, it must be that easy, because it isn't. One of the first things I learned was about how to have a relationship with a teacher. And in those teachings, they talked about, for many times, people will think, oh, to support a teacher, I'll support them through their efforts, like running tech and helping out around the shrine room. And while that's excellent, that's not necessarily the best way to support a teacher. Other people think, well, if I want to support a teacher, I will provide financial donations for their projects and other things like that. And while that's excellent, it's still not the best way to support a teacher. What do you all think is the best way to support a teacher, to follow a teacher? What's that? Practice the Dharma. The teacher, that's what they're trying to do. If they are teaching you, if they are, like when Lama Gersum Rinpoche came last weekend, he gave us teachings. If you saw Lama Gersum Rinpoche as your teacher after that weekend, the best thing to do is to put what he said into practice. To take those instructions and to really practice them. Because the teacher, while they're appreciative of their students' financial contributions and their time and talent, if you really want to make the teacher happy inside, if you can show or demonstrate through your practice that you're taking what they're teaching you and actually putting it in practice, that really, there's something about that makes a teacher pause and say, oh, this is my student. Many times I've seen people who say, oh, so and so is my teacher, but then they don't put anything that they say into practice. And then I think, well, maybe you don't want to do that particular practice, and that's okay. But at the same time, it's like, if they're your teacher. They're mentoring you. I think sometimes we put teachers on these like huge pedestals, and I always like to think of the teacher as a mentor, right? The people that had their hands up that have been practicing 10, 15, 20 years, they've been on the path and can also mentor. You can sit there and say, Tasha, I'm really struggling with this, and Tasha can share her own experience, and it may relate to you, and it may help you overcome an obstacle that you're experiencing right now. The other thing I think about as far as Buddhism and putting it into practice, I like to think of it as an experiment, especially with behavior changes. Because we are, through habits over our lifetime, countless lifetimes, according to Buddhism, we act a certain way and we respond a certain way. When somebody says something kind to you, you think about it and you go, oh gosh, yeah, I am that they're a really nice person and make me feel good. But if their words are harsh or critical, your mind changes. And so then you naturally respond out of habit a certain way, whether you have kind of self-destructive thoughts, or you have, you respond with criticism or negative thoughts. We just, it's a habit, right? It's just intuned. So when we practice mindfulness and can start to see those triggers and start to see how our reactions are, we have a moment, we have a pause where we can now choose a different path. In Buddhist teachings, they always give us that alternate path, and multiple alternate paths sometimes. So that way we can pause and we can say, okay, the teachings say to do it this way. Maybe I should try that and see what happens. So I'm going to share a life story. I'm going to tell you all about how I met my daughter. So my daughter is 32 as of this date. I think so. I don't know. She's old. And you all are probably thinking, wow, Lama Matt, I took the goatee off so I look a little more boyish. But I started very young. I was still in high school when my daughter was born, but I didn't know about her. I didn't know about her until she was about 10 or 11 years old. Now, for the time, I was working security. So I was at a warehouse, just working security. And I worked with a lot of guys. And I remember seeing them going through divorces or going through situations where they had parental custody, where they'd have to go to the courts, and they would always fight it. They would always put a lot of energy into whatever they wanted their outcome to be. And I remember that caused them a lot of suffering. Usually it was anger, usually it was fear. But for me, it was a lot of having to listen to them talk negatively about the situation, whether it's the person, the kids, the courts, whatever their situation, they would talk just awful about it. And so one day my HR person came up and said, hey, Matt, you have the courts looking at you for child support. Now, I've been extremely faithful to my wife, and we've been married for gobs and gobs of years. We got married in 99, so that tells you how many gobs of years it was. And this was after I had been married, and I was shocked. I was like, what are you talking about, right? And I was really concerned. And so one of my Sangha members here at the Remay Center had been a school counselor and had mentioned, like, and so I was talking to him about this, kind of trying to process it. And they said that, sometimes when people go through the court systems for to get like support, like services, the state will go after custody, right? It's just that I can understand that the state doesn't want to put money out there if they don't have to, if there's another parent that could support. But the person said, well, it could be a situation that somebody needed to claim a father and they just pointed at a yearbook and said you, right? So I was like, oh, okay, well, sure, whatever, doesn't sound right, but okay. Needless to say, I found out who the mother was, and we had had a relationship in high school. But they couldn't really tell me much more than that. And I remember really being conflicted about this. And then it dawned on me, this is an excellent opportunity to practice the Dharma and use this as an experiment. This was the watershed moment of me understanding that the Dharma can work, because I thought, I've been told by all these teachers, by Lama Chuck and all these visiting teachers, about how we can put the Dharma into practice and find peace and happiness. So I remember, or I recall, seeing all my coworkers and others going through this process, just how awful they felt and how awful they were, how ugly they had become in this process. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'm going to do what the Buddha had talked about. And so what does the Buddha talk about? Well, he talks about letting go of the ego. He talks about, especially in the Mahayana, working for the benefit of others, right? So I kind of use those two things to say, okay, this is how I'm going to approach the situation. And so the situation arises, there's nothing I can do about it. It's already arisen. The causes and conditions have come together for this situation to unfold. The only thing I can control is my response to that situation. So I had to go get a lawyer. It was the first time I ever dealt with a lawyer. It was a very interesting experience. And I remember talking to the lawyer, and I said, you know, whatever the process is, I want it to go as smooth as possible. I want it to be whatever is in the best interest of the child, while trying to maintain a little, you know, don't allow them to just rake me across the coals, in a sense. I want, just for my own mind's sake, let's just do what's in the best interest of the child. And so the lawyer said, okay. So I had to do a DNA test, to prove paternity, which was fine. I had to go in front of the court once to say who I was. In fact, they gave me my daughter's name at the time, and her name is one that you can't tell if it's a boy or girl's name. So I didn't even know if it was a boy or a girl. But we went through the process, and it was really interesting. I went to court once, never heard back from the lawyer until they came back and said, well, congratulations, you have a daughter. You're paying child support, which I'm like, okay, that's fine. If I have a child in my life, that's my responsibility. That's in the best interest of the child. And the cool thing was I got partial custody of this kid who I'd never met before. And I thought, oh my gosh, this poor kid. But it's interesting because my wife and I had always wanted children, and my wife never wanted children. And all of a sudden, I have a child in my life that she didn't have to go through the 9-month process to produce. So she's happy. I mean, she wasn't completely happy with the whole situation. But she was happy that my family no longer hounded her about having children. So that brought a little peace to her mind. But 9 months later, it was really interesting. It was 9 months later, I had this daughter. How many people have ever had to deal with a lawyer before? You have like the retainer you have to pay, put up, and then you get the bill. Well, we had moved because I wanted to be kind of in a better area, school district, let my daughter have her own room. It was very new. I was really excited about it. But I never got a bill from the lawyer. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I actually called the lawyer and I said, I want you to know we moved. I thought I gave you my address. I haven't received a bill. And the lawyer said, well, that's because your retainer covered everything. That your case was the easiest paternity case I've ever worked on because the mother was the exact same way, whatever's in the best interest of the kid. So the lawyer was like, it was drafting documents, having you go into the court, prove who you were, and that was it. Easy peasy. And I thought, wow, maybe there is something about this Buddhist stuff. And so from that moment, I had an opportunity to really put all of this into practice as an experiment. Anytime I'm conflicted, anytime my mind is troubled, I always think about the teachings. What do the teachings say? And then let me try to apply that to see if I get an outcome that's different than me banging my head against the wall for the 1000th time. And I will say, without a doubt, every time I've done that, it's been a great outcome. It may not be the outcome I had wanted, but in my daughter's case, it's a fantastic outcome. I got to have a relationship with this beautiful woman. I have a grandchild now. My wife actually had a great relationship with her, and so it's this opportunity. If I would have, I look back on it and I think if I would have gone down the road that everybody else had and fought it, think about all the pain that would have been in my own mind, all the pain that would have been in the child's mind. Who knows what would have come out of it. But I know from experience that the outcome that I had was positive. There was peace in my mind, there was joy and happiness from the experience. May not happen for you, but what I would like to tell you all is when you're trying to apply the teachings into your daily life, think of it like an experiment. Find teachings that might help you. Maybe it's a verse, maybe it's a quote, maybe it's a sutra. But try to find something that touches your heart, that makes you want to try an alternate reaction. Because the Buddhist teachings aren't meant to be locked away in monasteries or left behind on the meditation cushion. It's meant to be lived. And the heart of the Buddhist practice is not found in escaping our daily life, but embracing it with the wisdom and compassion. Mindfulness transforms our routine in sacred presence. Patience turns anger into compassion. Having right speech uplifts our conversation. Generosity brightens ordinary encounters. And equanimity helps us meet life's unpredictability with grace. When we live this way, the boundary between the meditation cushion and the daily commute dissolves, and the Dharma ceases to be something separate from our lives and instead becomes the very way we live. So I hope this talk has been beneficial to you. May your week be filled with compassion, wisdom, gratefulness, and joy. All right. So let's do our long life supplications. Long life supplication for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And the land encircled by snow mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. A flower of faith and praise of Lama Chuk Mary. Lama of great compassion with kindness to all, you firmly establish the Rimé tradition through skillful means and wisdom. Mary Tenzin Dawa, who is the embodiment of all the Daikinis with the sun of wisdom and the moon of compassion, you bring love and joy to everyone you meet. Inspired by your example, I vow to cultivate compassion and wisdom from this moment forward and in all my future lives. I will strive to embody the Buddha's teachings in every thought, word, and deed. Dedication of merit. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat enemy wrongdoing. Stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat enemy wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. Aspiration prayers. Bodhicitta is precious, may it arise from whom is not arisen. Once arisen, may it not diminish, but ever grow and flourish. All difficulties without exception being pacified, with harmonious situations like the treasure of the sky, may the teachings and practice of the Rimé tradition live long and shine brightly. And with that, we are completed. So again, if we could have some volunteers help us, we're going to move the cushions from St. Mark's back to here. So hopefully maybe an hour, if even that. So thank you all. I will get started here in probably about 10 minutes.